And one day, Srila Prabhupada said to his devotees that he wanted to have an 11-day Pandal program and invite tens and thousands of people and shake the whole city of Bombay with the chanting of Hare Krishna. He said he wants to distribute prasad to hundreds and thousands of people, and he wants big program that will bring attention to all of India. And the devotees couldn't understand and couldn't believe what he was saying. We hardly know anyone. We have no funds. We just got here. How can we have a program for tens and thousands of people in the heart of Bombay? Srila Prabhupada said that if you go hunting, you should shoot for the rhinoceros, because the rhinoceros is the hardest animal to catch of all animals. He said, if you go hunting for rhinoceros, he said, if you never get it, everyone will say, well, it was impossible to get anyway. And if you get it, everyone will think, oh, how wonderful. And the devotees had so many doubts, these American young people. And Srila Prabhupada told them that what is the use of your being American if you cannot do something wonderful? Prabhupada said at that time, when they said it was impossible, he said, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. By the grace of Krishna, everything is possible. Srila Prabhupada had that faith and that determination and that willing to sacrifice everything for the benefit of others. And he personally organized, decided everything. And he was pushing his devotees forward. Although it was a foreign land, they didn't know how to do anything here. They were always sick with various diseases. By Srila Prabhupada's very enthusiastic determination and encouragement, he was sending them, dispatching them out in different directions. He put Shyam Sundar in charge of publicity. He put Giriraj Maharaj in charge of fundraising. He put Tamal Krishna Maharaj in charge of setting up the Pandal. Marudvista Swami in charge of the program at the stage. And in this way he was telling them systematically. They had to come to him every day and report. And the momentum was building. Miracles were being performed by them. They didn't know how. It is said in the Shastra, Mukam karoti vachalam bhangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham bande sri gurum dinatharanam. That if one has the mercy of Guru, even if one is a lame man, he can cross over the highest mountains of the Himalayas. Even if one is a blind man, he can see the most distant stars in the sky. And even if one is dumb, he can speak the most eloquent poetry. Because to receive the mercy of Guru means to receive the mercy of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada had faith in the mercy of his Guru. And he knew that he could do anything on the basis of that faith, if it was for Krishna. And he imbibed that same faith in his simple followers who had no experience at all in what he was asking them to do. An 11-day Pandal program with tens and thousands of people every day. How would they feed them? Where would they get the books from to give to them? Where would they make the latrines and toilet facilities and the lighting and the tents? So many to have a program that size. So much thought, so much planning, so much experience, so much resources. Shyam Sundar somehow or other began to advertise. And he was putting up banners and putting up billboards and putting ads in newspapers. How it was happening, they didn't know. Gradually, some people were giving some funds. When Srila Prabhupada first had the idea, he decided to call those favorable people who were life members to try to help. He had a meeting just to propose the idea of this gigantic Pandal program, in which he needed over 100,000 rupees, which in 1971 was a lot for someone who had nothing. So most of the life members and people who were favorable to him, most of them didn't even come. And of those who came, practically all of them said it's impossible. They showed no interest and gave no idea of support, because how are you, such a small man with such a little tiny following, with no resources, going to have such a huge program? But there were just about 5 or 6 of these favorable people who actually said to Srila Prabhupada that, yes, we're here to help you in every way we can. And one of those half-dozen people was our dear friend, Mr. Chabriya. Because he assisted Srila Prabhupada when Srila Prabhupada's at a time when he was most in need, we can understand that he eternally has the most intimate blessings of Lord Krishna. Even at the risk of being criticized, he didn't care. And with these few people and the few disciples, gradually the Pandal came upon. And it was on March 25th, 1971, yesterday, that Srila Prabhupada began the first major program in the history of the Hare Krishna movement. On the first day, 10,000 people came. And in the evening, over 20,000 people attended. Srila Prabhupada ki. It was the first time that Srila Prabhupada was preaching to the masses of so many thousands at a time. And this program was such a wonderful success. Over 20,000 people appeared on that night. There was kirtan by the devotees, dancing and chanting. And there was no Indian devotees at that time, because Prabhupada had just come to India. So the people of Bombay were amazed to see all these Americans and Europeans dancing in ecstasy and chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, wearing saris and dhotis and tilak. It was astonishing to them. It was beyond their dreams. And yet the kirtans were so sweet and so beautiful and so full of devotion. Srila Prabhupada told the devotees that you will attract many people because you are my dancing white elephants. People like to see dancing white elephants. And Prabhupada also arranged for beautiful, beautiful deities from Jaipur to be there. There was a beautiful altar with Radha and Krishna. The devotees were worshipping them on the stage. There was slideshows. And then Srila Prabhupada would come forward amongst the masses. And with his karatals, he would sing Jai Radha Madhava, and then he would give lecture. It was on the first day of that Pandal program, March 25th, 1971, during the afternoon, that this lowly, fallen, insignificant, and lost soul happened to be walking down the street in Bombay. Why and how, I do not know, except the causeless mercy of Lord Krishna. had just come down from the Himalayas. I was studying the books of Shankaracharya. I was living in seclusion in caves on the banks of the Ganges in the jungle, simply absorbed in solitude and seclusion, and meeting various yogis, learning from them. I came to Bombay for the purpose of getting a visa extension. Otherwise, I had no business in Bombay. But everyone else refused me, and they told me if you go to Bombay, they may give you a visa extension. So when I came, I was taking a course in Buddhist meditation in Bhuleshwar. And the course ended, and I was thinking that I will just take a walk. And I started walking. I was actually walking to American Express office to see if I had any mail. But there was no reason, because nobody in the entire planet knew I was in Bombay. From Himalayas, I just came to Bombay. When I was in Himalayas, there was no address in the caves I was living. So there was no way anyone could have possibly known. Besides the Paramatma, nobody knew where I was in the world. So why I was going to American Express to check for mail doesn't make sense even to me. I just decided I will go. 100%, there's no mail for me, but still I'll go. It didn't make sense, but actually, in spiritual understanding, things that do not make sense materially make the best sense. So I was walking for many kilometers, and I was thinking, after I walked for about an hour or so, that there's no possibility that there's any mail for me. There's no use in me even going to American Express. But somehow or other, I'm already walking, so God must have some plan. And then I saw a big sign saying Hare Krishna Festival, Cross Maidan. So I asked someone, where is this Cross Maidan? And that person, some unknown stranger on the street, he said, it's just there. It was just a 2-minute walk from where I saw the sign. So I was always interested in learning more and more about different spiritual philosophies and paths. So I walked in, and one devotee, his name was Tushta Krishna. He was sitting behind a book desk, a book stall. It was just a long table. Hardly anyone was there in the pandal because it was during the day. And I had long, long matted hair and a begging pot and the robes of a Himalayan sadhu. And he looked at me and he couldn't understand who I was or what I was. He thought I was just an Indian sadhu, so he ignored me. And then I said, do you have any books I can read? And he was shocked that I spoke English. He said, you speak English? He said it in an Indian type accent. I said, yes, I am from America. He said, you are from America? You? I said, yes. He said, I have a book for you to read. There was a book called Krishna Book, which had just been brought to India. It was a very newly published book. George Harrison, Shyam Sundar convinced, and Prabhupada convinced George Harrison to pay for the funding of this book. And he turned to a certain chapter. And that chapter was telling the story of how Lord Shiva gave a benediction to Brikasura, that whoever's head he touches will crack in 1,000 places. So Lord Shiva gave him, and then he went to touch Shiva's head because he wanted to have Parvati for his own. So Shiva ran away, and he was running and running, and Brikasura was running after him. And then Vishnu, Krishna, he descended in the form of a small boy, and he told Brikasura that, where are you going? He said, I'm going to touch Shiva's head, kill him, and take Parvati. And the disguised Krishna said to Brikasura that you are a fool, because I know Shiva. He gives all these blessings, but they never work. You will touch his head, nothing will happen, and everyone will laugh at you. So to avoid this embarrassment, you should test to see whether the benediction works and touch your own head. So he touched his own head, and it worked. Cracked in 1,000 places, and he died. And then Lord Shiva was offering prayers to Krishna for saving him. So I read this. He said, you are a Shivite? I said, I'm living in Himalayas. Everyone there is Shivite. He said, you see, even Shiva takes shelter of Krishna, so you should surrender to Krishna. He was the first devotee I met. Exactly 25 years ago, and I first read Srila Prabhupada's book. Then some devotees preached to me, and someone said, would you like to do seva? I said, yes. I want to make spiritual advancement somehow or other. So they introduced me to Giriraj Das Brahmachari, who is now His Holiness Srila Giriraj Swami Maharaj. And Giriraj Maharaj was in charge of Back to Godhead. He had a table at the other end of the pandal at Cross Maidan from the book stall, and people were stealing the Back to Godheads. So my service was to put holes in the corner and tie a string through the hole and then tie the string to the table so people could look at them but not steal them. So it is my great pleasure to tell you that the first service I ever rendered in the Hare Krishna movement was service to Back to Godhead in Bombay. So Yudhisthira Prabhu, you should meditate on this truth. Then the evening came, and before my eyes, there was over 20,000 people in this Pandal program. And then I was waiting for Srila Prabhupada to speak. I stayed there all day because everyone was telling me, Prabhupada's going to speak tonight. And I was very anxious, because wherever I went in India, I was always searching out great sages to hear from and learn from. So the devotees were chanting. And then Srila Prabhupada came on the stage and sat on his asana. And Giriraj Maharaj told me, you should go to the lecture now, because Guru Maharaj is speaking. And then he left to go on stage. And I just went to the back, and I was sitting there, and I was thinking, because it was so far back, I could hardly see the person on the stage. And I saw pictures of Prabhupada. But he didn't say Prabhupada, he said Guru Maharaj. So Prabhupada started singing, and I was thinking, when is this Guru Maharaj going to stop so Prabhupada could speak? And he kept singing, and I was actually making aparads in my mind. I was thinking, everyone's come to hear Prabhupada. Why this Guru Maharaj is singing for so long? And then I started focusing in, and I was thinking, actually, that is Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj is Prabhupada. Meanwhile, one disciple of Srila Prabhupada named Guru Das, he was on the stage, and he was just looking. He was very obvious because he was a very big person. And then he started signaling for someone to come, but no one came. Then he came to that person he was signaling to. He came all the way through probably 10,000 people to reach me. I was just sitting near the back in this huge crowd on the ground. And he took me by the hand and he said, Srila Prabhupada is inviting you to sit on the stage with him. And I didn't say anything. I just was very much happy. And I got up and he held me by the hand and brought me all the way to sit just quite close to his Vyasasan. That was exactly 25 years ago. And I remember when I was sitting there and Srila Prabhupada was speaking, the most powerful thought came from my heart. A thought I never had before. From my heart, there was a voice that said, "This is your eternal spiritual master. You should surrender to him now, because he is old and he may leave this world any day." And when I heard that, I was practically paralyzed. But because my mind was so much immersed in going to so many holy places, meeting so many sages and rishis and yogis and gurus, my mind was fighting against my heart bitterly. And I was sitting there in a war with myself as I was at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. My mind was saying, yes, he is a great sage, listen to him, but after you hear him for this 11 days, you must go on and keep searching. So I sat. And after Srila Prabhupada's wonderful lecture, his lecture was very heavy. He was challenging all the people of India that you are taking to these Western ways, and the civilization you are aspiring to achieve is a total failure. He said the big people of India, the politicians and so forth, they are going to the Western countries to beg. But you have the greatest treasure to give them, the treasure of Krishna culture, of Sanatana Dharma, Krishna consciousness. It is the duty of every Indian to understand their own spiritual heritage and save the world, enlighten the world by giving them Krishna. He was challenging, and he was speaking the highest truths in such an uncompromising, but in such a compassionate way. Although I had heard previously so many of the biggest saints of India and of the West, I had never heard anyone speak with such conviction and such devotion and such authority. Anyways, as Srila Prabhupada was ending his lecture and leaving the stage, by his kind mercy, he personally told me that I could touch his lotus feet and take the dust on my head, which was the first instruction he ever gave me, which I followed with great gratitude. And he told me, you please come and sit on the stage with us every night. So each night I came, and the devotees, all the devotees were dancing and chanting very blissfully. And I was thinking, this philosophy is very interesting. And these people have tremendous devotion. But why they dance? I will never dance. Because I was a meditator. And I remember thinking like this, this is one thing they'll never get me to do, is dance like this. Some days went by, and one day, every day Srila Prabhupada would smile at me. and just make very happy to be in his concern. And he would always show that he was very happy that I was coming. But one day, I was just sitting a few feet away from him. He looked at me, and his eyes were severe. They were so serious, so grave. He was looking at me in a mood of chastisement, and he didn't say a word. But Srila Prabhupada had the power to speak through his glance. When he looked at you, you could hear what he was trying to say from the core of your heart, if he wanted to do that. And as he was looking at me, I heard his voice in my heart. In his chastising glance, he said, "Give up all your nonsense and surrender to Krishna." And I was just, how could I do something like this? Why is he saying like this to me? And he looked at me for many seconds.
You were listening to Radhanath Swami on devotionalnectar.com.